the whole concept of a team having playoff experience can be pretty overblown, but the guys in your room who do have it, how have you seen them make an impact on the group between games, between practices, just the subtleties?
Well, I think they've just been there. Don't have the normal nerves that a guy that plays his first game, like a Kozak going into game 3. I think those are the guys you bump into and they just tell you, just go play the game. I know sometimes that's hard to do, and you only get experience by playing, whether it's one shift, one period, one game, one home game, one road game. There's all kinds of different experience you can get, but the only way you can get it is to live it. And, if you're feeling a little anxiety about it, just go to the guys that have been there.
Lindy, along those lines, do you feel that guys maybe, first couple of games, maybe they had some jitters and they got over them and they've kind of settled into their game and found what makes them successful? Some of those young guys.
Yeah, I think we've got to our game a lot better on the road. And, I said this before, at home, we all had friends, we all had family, you've got distractions. There's a lot in the home surroundings that is hard on the home team. You've got your own family, you might have your own kids, and you have to deal with that, whether they're staying at your house or you want to get out of your house and stay at a hotel. But you have a lot more to deal with at home than you do on the road. At the road, we take care of them and we feed them, we make sure they get to bed and everything, so it's a lot better atmosphere.
Lindy, what is it about Alex Lyon's mentality and the battling approach that he has and never give up kind of, just his approach? What makes it easy for this team to maybe play for him, and what does he do as far as inspiring this team?
Well, I think every goaltender has their own personality, and his personality has a lot of fire in it. He's a character, and I think it's something the group likes. It's something, a lot of times it's different. There are goaltenders you can't talk to game day, you can't shoot the puck high on. You shoot a high one, they're throwing a stick at you. His personality is one of, if he's not playing, he's going to be the hardest working guy. I don't even know if I've seen him have a bad day. And that's just part of his personality as a goaltender, which I think that personality is infectious. Doesn't make him a better goaltender than the next goaltender, but that's just his own personality.
Lindy, how much more dangerous of a team is Boston down 3-1 given how Game 4 played out, when they're on the brink of elimination and they got their tails kicked in that game?
Yeah, you can expect this to be the hardest game that we're going to have to play short term here, because they're in the nothing to lose and everything to gain category. They know that if they don't put whatever they can put into the game, they're done. When you're facing that, you're up against the wall, then a lot of times we're going to see more risk. We might even see their defense involved a lot more. There's a lot of things you're going to see. That elimination game, or that, I even felt going into game 4 that, if we could get that one, that would put them in a tough place. And I thought the first period we played did that. I think the first period tomorrow is going to be a big period for us because of all the things you mentioned. They're embarrassed to a man about the game. I said this before the series started. They're a good team. For them to end up where they ended up, they're a good team. Through the year, did they have their stretches where they lost 4 or 5 or maybe 4 in a row? Yes. But did they correct it and get themselves in a good place? Yes, they did. So why wouldn't they be there again? The only reason they are there is because they have, and I have a lot of respect for how hard it is to get to where they got, alone get where we got to.
Going into a game where you have the potential to clinch the series, what are you telling guys that are in a position that they've never been in before?
A lot about what we talked about in Game 3 and Game 4, that we have to get to our game in a hurry, which is puck pressure, speed of the game, moving our feet. Didn't feel Games 1 and 2 we moved our feet enough, didn't create enough chaos inside the offensive zone. Get to our game right away. Get the puck in behind them, create puck pressure, make sure that we're backing each other up. Get to net front, screens, tips, flash screens where you're going through the front of the net where he's got to fight to see it. Make sure we have people around there for rebounds. A simple game, but played at a real fast pace.
Lindy, was there a moment in Game 3 that you felt like the switch had just kind of gone in the direction you guys needed to? Because it showed in Game 4 with the way you guys played. Was there a moment you go back to in Game 3 where you felt like the group started kind of putting the confidence behind their game?
Yeah, late in the second and pretty well the third period, where we had constant puck pressure, and I thought that puck pressure continued in the third period, and it led, I think Zucker hit a goal post and Greenway hit a crossbar. I thought our skating was really evident. We got through the neutral zone pretty well against them. We got pucks behind them. Our D were heavily involved, which is a big part of our game. I thought Games 1 and 2 didn't notice our D as much, but these last two games have really noticed how much they've been involved.
Quick update, Zucker and Kozak, any update on those?
Yeah, probable for tomorrow, but still being evaluated.
And
you can put Norris in there too. Norris is going to skate. He could be available.
And if you reflect back on just your coaching career and the way this team is playing with the defense just jumping into the defenders just jumping into the play, how have you adapted your approach, and have you adapted your approach over the years based on how this team is playing?
I think as a coach, you adapt to the group you have. I remember early in my career, I was criticized too defensive. Then I got criticized too offensive. Then for a little while, I was too defensive again. But I think it's the group you have. You play to your strengths. And the strength is how mobile our defense are, how active they can be on helping our forwards create offense. So you build a team, you look at what you have, you're watching game after game, and you try to utilize, this is what is going to be our strength. In the Game 1 and 2, I don't think we got to the strength of the team, which was our defense being involved.
Alex, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. What is it about you, your personality, the battler in you, the loose person that you are, that has helped, I guess, that seems to fit this team in many ways?
I think just given my career has shaped the way that I approach the game to a degree, and just don't necessarily feel like I've been given anything and have had to work for everything, and kind of just maybe credit to Tim and Deb Lyon a little bit as well for raising me that way. But I think it fits well in Buffalo, and just it was a fun, I think, us, and it's not just me, I think it's, it's perpetuated amongst the group as well, which is fun. Personalities like, Josh Doan and Zach Benson, and I could go down the line. The leaders we have, they take on that personality as well, but it's fun to play sports in that kind of in that vessel of, you know, it's us versus everybody else, and I think that's a really fun way to play. And there are really good teams that New England Patriots did that for 20 years, right? They found ways to take things personal and make things personal, and I just think that that's a fun way, and I think it suits our group well.
Alex, I'm sure that you knew about Bo Byram, playing against him over the years, but since you got here, being around him since September, what have you, I guess, learned about him on and off the ice, his game, his personality, that you've really come to respect?
Yeah, I didn't know too much about him, just he was in the West, and you know, this is only my third full year in the NHL, so never played against him too much, but from day one when I got here, I immediately knew what he was about. Just, you know, you meet different personalities that you connect with, and this goes for a lot of guys in our room, but Bo could easily be wearing a letter for us. He's an incredible leader, and again, along the same lines, plays the game with an incredible chip on his shoulder, which is an extremely fun guy to have in your room. And, you know, I think back to a few specific teammates that I've had in the past, but it's a cliche line, but guys that you don't want to play against and you really dislike, but when you're on the same team as them, you love them as teammates, and those are the guys everybody wants on their team. And so huge credit to him for the way that he's handled and played the last, you know, this series, and honestly the whole season. He's an emotional pillar for our team, and a physical pillar as well. So it's fun to see him thrive.
Lindy was talking about how you never have a bad day. Have you always been like that? Is that just part of your personality, or is that something you've worked on, so to speak, just to embrace each day? Like, do you know what I mean? It's kind of a different question, but I mean, have you always been like that, I guess?
I think age comes, and you do. That's something that I think is a muscle that you can work on. To me, I have a lot of bad days, you know, so it's all about perception, right? And like when you're a 22-year-old, you don't understand how to, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not specific to athletes. You learn how to cover it and not reveal it quite as much, you know, when you have a bad day. And it's the exact same thing in the locker room, but I think it probably dawned on me 5 or 6 years ago that if you just continue to keep pushing, even through bad times, it will always turn around for the better. And when it's bad, and if you lean into that and you allow that to take over, that emotion and that feeling and that mental state, that's when bad things happen. But if you just continue to keep pushing, and if you literally just keep trying, you know, it's going to turn around eventually. And it's kind of again, going back to that sentiment, it's just, if you just keep trying, even in the course of a game, you know, you go down by a few, if you just keep trying for 60 minutes, you never know what's going to happen, and that's kind of the beauty of sports. So it's easy to forget that at times when times are tough, you know, and it's easy to say when we're having success, but tomorrow there's going to be emotional ups and downs. Even yesterday, there's emotional ups and downs through the course of the game, and you never know when that flip is going to switch. So it's just important to keep sight of that.
Hey, Alex. Josh Doan comes obviously from, you know, a high hockey pedigree family, and I'm sure there's probably some pressure that comes with having to live up to those standards. But the way he approaches a game, it seems effortless almost. So I guess how do you notice the way he approaches this game and he adds his own unique style when he hits the ice?
Yeah, I mean, his dad is obviously one of the best to do it. but it doesn't mean that he doesn't put in all of the work and grinds extremely hard himself, and all the credit to him. And just because he was around it growing up doesn't mean that he didn't have to put in all of that work himself. And so it's a massive credit to him. I mean, there's a lot of people who have all of the tools at their disposal and then nothing ever comes of fruition. And so I'm sure that he probably to some degree wants to create his own path and create his own image out of the shadow. And as you guys know, he's got a great way about him. And so he handles everything really well, and he's a great leader and great personality. Just his work ethic and his day-to-day compete is something that I'm jealous of.
Alex, and I'm half kidding here, but would you say that if you knew Josh was standing like just to the left of you?
I would. I would. No, I know what you're saying, but he handles all of those things in the right way, and it's not easy. I've played with a lot of guys who have parents that played or brothers and sisters that played, and it's not an easy thing to do, to step into a locker room when everybody knows your sibling, your parent, they're more notable than you are. And so that shouldn't be unnoticed that he handles that aspect of it so well.
And the question I was going to ask was, you talk about, you learned early in your career, or it dawned on you 6 years ago on, how to approach and hide whatever bad day you might have. Could you imagine yourself like at 22, or were you doing this at 22 or earlier, flipping off guys or chirping at guys and laughing at them? I mean, how much has that part of your confidence grown, or has it always been you?
Yeah, it's definitely grown. I mean, it takes it's not a one-way street. There's also a guy on the other side who's an extremely talented player, who's very effective. And so I try to never lose sight of that. And so it's just gamesmanship at the end of the day, and that's kind of how I see it. But you have to go into the game with a somewhat fearless mentality, and accept that it might not always go the right way, and that's when it's the most difficult to continue to have confidence in those scenarios, is when things don't go quite as how you planned. But like I said, it's the same mentality. You have to be fearless and push through things that might make you feel uncomfortable. And I don't really know if I'm answering your question here, but I guess that's just kind of how I think about it, and I think when you're young too, it's easy to get intimidated by the moment. It's easy to get intimidated by the situation. When you're an American League player, you're coming up and it's like, oh my God, I'm playing against, whoever for the first time. And it can be intimidating. But, once you start thinking about it in terms of just playing the game, winning, it's about winning and losing at the end of the day. And that's the only thing that I'm trying to do, is I'm just trying to help the Sabres win games to the best of my capacity, however it may look. Some days it might require a different product than other days. And so you have to be cognizant of that as well. Thank you.
What's your better side, left or right? Well, you got two good sides. I got two bad ones, so that's totally fine.
Work? Hi. This could honestly be for either of you or both of you. It seems like all four lines have seen time against their top guys. To be able to truly roll four lines, how much does that aid in getting to your game and playing with the type of pace and speed that you guys like to play with?
Yeah, I think, you know, us being able to, like you're mentioning, roll 4 lines, it allows everybody to, you know, find their rhythm, find their game, and try to be as effective as possible. And I think we trust different lines in different situations to do, you know, different roles, and it's been what's made us successful as a group, being able to trust different people on the ice to, you know, play defensively, score goals, all that kind of stuff, and this series has been no different.
Josh, Alex said nice things about you, but what is it about Alex's personality and approach, that just competitive style, the chirping style that he has, that seems to help feed this team in many ways?
Yeah, I think you can, obviously he's been super important for us this year, but he gives you a little bit of that boost, I think, at times when he's got a little bit of fire back there, and he's a guy that we've all grown to love throughout the year, and that's his personality on and off the ice. He's like that. I've got a chance to sit next to him while on the plane this year, and he gets pretty fired up about topics. So we have good conversations, but that's part of who he is, and I think when you see him doing that, you know he's on his game. That's what kind of drives him. That's when he's at his best. He's barking at people, and he's not that it's something that's bothersome to us. It's something that kind of drives us, and we get a chuckle out of it at times because it's pretty entertaining. But yeah, it's something that if it allows him to be who he is in net, then obviously we all fully support it, and it's helped him have success this year.
Can I ask what topics? I mean, how serious or not serious? Like, is it like places to go eat or something?
Yeah, well, he went to Yale, and I went to the Harvard of the West in ASU, so we negotiate pretty good. So that could be math or science or hockey. It depends on the day. He loves talking hockey, and I do as well. So whether that be players or teams or where teams are at in the league and in different stages of coming in, we've had good conversations, and we're pretty similar in what we think, but at times we will argue about things.
Josh, you've obviously known Owen for a long time, going back to your time, together in Chicago, but what has it been like for you to see his game evolve? It kind of seems like he's taken his game to a different level during these Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, I think Owen's been unbelievable this year for us, and obviously he's a guy that the past couple of years people have been hard on in terms of everything, and from the outside looking in, you've never really understood why, because you watch him and he's always doing the right things, and I think you're starting to notice that more and more, that he just puts himself in good positions all over the ice, and he makes the simple play, and I mean, I've seen it to where we were 16, 17 years old, and he was dominant, and he's making plays like he did to Bull the other night, where he's got that deception for a big D-man and sets up a nice goal. So it's something that, being on his team, it doesn't surprise me that he's doing what he's been doing recently, but even watching from the last couple of years when he was in Michigan, or when he was here in Buffalo and I wasn't here, you see that part of his game where it's always been there, and he's just so patient with the puck for a big man.
Hey guys, I got a question for both of you, but Josh, I'll start with you. It's kind of what I was asking Alex is, obviously, a lot of people know, it's well chronicled who your dad is, and I'm sure that's a great hockey resource for you to have, but as he kind of alluded to, I'm sure you want to make a name for yourself, pave your own path, but also having that resource. I guess, what is the balance of how you go about paving your own path, but obviously looking at a guy like your dad to, just talk to and just, develop your game even more?
Yeah, I think it's a nice thing to have in your back pocket, someone to talk to like him in situations like this, and just kind of coming up through your life. It's nice to have him, but at the same time, there's an element of wanting to kind of build your own path, and there's part of going to college instead of major junior or things like that, where you kind of stem off a little bit. But at the same time, he's been a mentor for me my whole life, on and off the ice, and if I can resemble any part of what he's done, it's an honor for me to even be in a conversation with what he did and who he was as a person. So At the end of the day, you do want to kind of start your own thing and do your own kind of path and career, but I mean, the comparison to him in any way, shape, or form to me is an honor, and it's not much of a distraction when it comes to comparisons between the two of us.
Thank you. Beck, my question to you is, when you were traded here, this franchise was a much different place than it is right now. For you, along this journey in Buffalo, when was the moment, or what it was, when you realized things were different and that you were going to be kind of like a piece of the solution to getting hockey back as a mainstay here?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody would probably touch on, when we started that streak this season. I think that was a very obvious major turning point for this group. We gained a lot of confidence, pulled ourselves out of a pretty deep hole to get us to where we ended up at the end of the season. And when I came in last season, there was lots of talk of, this is a hockey city, not a football city, and that was pretty hard to believe as an outsider coming in. I mean, you see the passion for the Bills and just everything around that. But then I think throughout this year, we've slowly grown to see just how supportive and passionate this fan base is. I mean, I think we had 16, 17 sellouts to end the season. At home, the energy that's been here, building to the playoffs and now starting in the playoffs, it's truly been sensational. We love playing in front of the fans. But yeah, I think, we made some moves during this offseason to bring in, players like Josh, and I think the group really just started to gel kind of in that maybe about a third into the season, and started to really turn things around and really found our game, found our stride, and we've just kind of rode that to where we are now.
Beck, you're a player that's known pretty well for your physicality, and you've had some highlight reel goals this year. How does it feel to, top it off with, getting the playoff goal last night?
Yeah, obviously it's great to have a bounce go in, especially in a playoff game. But, big picture, like you said, my game's built around physicality, trying to play the defensive side of the puck the best I can. Penalty kill and things like that, but anytime you can chip in offensively, you're happy to do it.
Beck, you've been were line mates with Payton for a while and had good chemistry with him. What about Payton's game is maybe tailored toward the playoffs, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, Krebsy's a Swiss Army knife for us. I think you've seen that. Like you said, I've spent a handful of games playing with him. Really enjoyed that. Thought we played well together, and then you see what he's able to bring to the top line of our team as well. He has a tremendous skill set. He's got an unbreakable motor, and I think that's the best thing about him, right? He competes on every single puck. He's physical, turns a lot of pucks over, and then you can see the skill he has to make little plays and finish off as well, which I think has been a huge addition to that top line. I think all three of them have played really, really well together. They've provided us a ton of offense, a ton of big goals, meaningful goals. And yeah, it's just his tenacious, mindset and skill set out there that really makes him effective both regular season and playoffs.
Beck, I hate to kind of put you in this situation because it just was announced, but the NHL just said that Nikita Zadorov got a $5,000 fine for his cross-check. Any thoughts, given what happened yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, plays like that happen in the game, and how they're addressed is outside of our control. I think that's really all we're going to speak to it. It's something we obviously don't want to see happen, but how that gets handled is an outside source. We have to trust the league to do their job and handle it the best they can.
Josh, you've had time to play with both Josh Norris and with Noah Ostlund. Is there a way that you change how you approach the game with either of them? Is there a way that you go about it? You just do your thing and let them handle it?
Yeah, I think anytime you're given the opportunity to play with either one of them, it's pretty fortunate. Obviously, both are extremely skilled down the middle and fast. So you got to bring a little bit of pace when you're going to play with them. I think Benny and I both kind of play a similar style to where we're going to be hunting pucks and trying to force turnovers for those two to get opportunities to get the puck back. But I think it's pretty easy to kind of stay the course when you're rotating between either one of those guys, where they're both players that are going to make things happen when you're out there with them. So you don't have to worry about kind of controlling the puck. You kind of let them do it and get open for them and create space for them. So I think you ask both Benny and I with playing with both of them throughout the series that there's not really a difference when it comes to getting ready to play with either one of them. You know that if they get the puck, things can happen. So just to be ready for whatever.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.